All right, your motion is twofold. It is to proceed with advertising the vacancy as presented, and it is also include the agreement with the understanding that one person of, the one person of council would be involved in the screening, but the person would, the finalists would be presented to council?
Yes.
So let's be clear, do we want to be presented one person? Hello, congratulations. This is Jeanette Smith of Green Bay. She's your new DBI director. But do we want to have, that's is Sally, this is Henry, and let's interview them both. What do we want?
Sally and Henry and interview them both.
I like to have two.
Two? All right.
Interview both of them.
Consensus of council to have two would participate in the interviewing and the hiring of the two finalists of the DBI director.
Right.
Is that part of your motion? Is there a second to Mr. Miller's motion?
Second.
Mr. Allman is second. Any further discussion? Because this will involve more than $10,000, I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Allman.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Green.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Nash, okay?
I just asked, Jake, is he okay?
I know just as much as y'all do. I can check on him. Let me see how
I think you got a message, but go ahead. We'll move on to the consent agenda, which has 4 items for you. We have a movie night proposed for the Catholic Church on October 1st. They want to waive the noise ordinance. It's going to start around dusk and last 2 hours. They're going to notify the neighbors. I see that as a no-brainer. The fire department wants to have their banner as they've always had for Fire Prevention Week in the open house. And the Wine Festival wants to have their banner hung and waved as well. I guess we'll coordinate the locations of the banners because they're around the Wine Festival's after the open house. And then your last event is exciting event, the charity softball tournament on October 30th between the first responders of Nottoway and the Nottoway Cougars. So I'd entertain a motion to approve all 4 consent items.
So moved.
Mr. Miller has moved. We'll get the second to Ms. Jones. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're at 4-0 with a quorum, barely. Moving right along to unfinished business. We have number 1, a charging station. This is a final draft of an agreement between the town and Beta Technologies.
And what this is, for those in the audience that don't know, it is an electric charging station for electric vehicles and electric aircraft, believe it or not. Jake has been on several of the discussions. Beta would like to install electric charging devices on town property. The biggest concern I had was they have a $3 million requirement that the town maintain, and Carol looked it up today, and we're in excess of that. $3 million without having to spend any additional dollars. I think it's been hashed and rehashed on more than one occasion, and I think it's certainly my recommendation. I expect it'll be Jake's as the chairman of the committee that we proceed on with executing an agreement with Beta Technology.
How many charging stations would there be at the
I
airport?
think it's 2 of them.
There'd be 2 separate stations, one for 2 ground vehicles, 2, like, if somebody wanted to come charge their Tesla or whatever they have, there'd
Right.
be 2 in the parking lot. And then one charger for a larger aircraft, for the aircraft side of it.
I think you'll see 2 devices out there, though, but
There'll be 2.
yeah.
It'll be pretty close to each other just to try to help them keep their costs down. That being said, I think that their cost, if I had to guess, is probably gonna be over $250,000 that they're putting in Blackstone for a pretty sweetheart deal for us. And again, if you look, looks like they're building a route down the East Coast, and they're also building a route out west to try to put this infrastructure in before some of their airplanes get approved.
That's great.
Yeah.
I
No-
remember
no-
the mayor saying he did not get on that plane.
I will fly, when I do fly, it will be jet fuel powered aircraft. I promise you that. But those who have that much faith, I commend them. We need a motion from council to approve this agreement. This is exciting. Ms. Jones has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allman is second. Any further discussion? What's the cost of the town?
Other than the insurance, which we already have covered, the only expense to us would be any indemnification in the event that we were to fail to cure a problem, or if one of our obligations were not satisfied.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Next up is a familiar topic, the Nottoway School Building Agreement. So we've amended it and
This has been some time coming. We do not have it in the budget. We do not have it in the budget at this time. But in June of 2022, you can see the school board approved doing certain things. In exchange, the town was going to tear down some buildings, build a football field for the Gators, water and sewer taps for portable classrooms in the event of emergency, and remove any of the hazardous waste or asbestos during the demolition. At this point, I don't know if they're certainly not pressing me for a response, but I wanted to let council know you do have an option because of the condition of the building. If council, and I got the impression council wasn't terribly keen on moving forward with this, that you could declare it blighted and that the property would have to be remediated at the expense of the county.
But that's gonna
Kind of a
cause
nuclear
I
option.
That's
don't-
gonna cause a rift.
Yeah, I want to we've got a little headbutting with the board of supervisors.
Right.
I want to maintain good relations with the school board.
Yeah.
I do think it's reasonable for us if the people of Blackstone are going to demolish a county building, the one-story one. All we want to do, and I told them this at a meeting, I said, we just like the right to, if someone comes along and we have no prospect, we're not playing, we don't have some hidden secret. If someone were to come along and say, look, I want to renovate that building for a learning center or whatever, why in the world would they, we had a viable prospect for apartments. And
We did.
and the reason that got killed because someone said, well, what if a sex offender chose to live there? I said, have you looked at the Virginia State Police sex registry and looked in Blackstone? They're here.
And again, the reason to bring it to you is that this agreement says that the town would have the building, the one-story buildings in bad shape, demolished by January of 2023. And if we were to move forward, and I think it gives you to 2025, if I'm not mistaken, to have Chassie and I come up with a plan on what in the devil we're gonna do with the two-story building across the street.
We can't demolish it by 2023.
It's not in the budget, no. I'd
You
have
want to change that to 2024?
I think it would be more in keeping with council's intention during the budget process.
How much of a cost we talking about?
Oof. You know, obviously, we're doing it, it's gonna be less expensive, and, but you're gonna have an appreciable amount of debris, but we have asked that the county waive the cost at the landfill.
And the school board would partner with us in asking.
In asking, they have not given us a response yet, but, if we're gonna do it by January 2023, we gotta get on with it.
Well, the school board has agreed to join us in asking,
Yes, that's correct.
but the supervisors have not responded to or given us any tea leaves on whether or not they would. So the agreement, do you wish to amend this agreement and make it so that the town would agree to?
If you don't wanna declare it blighted, I think logically it would be 2024.
I think that's a nicer way to do things. I mean,
And the blighted thing is the nuclear option, and,
Yeah.
but it ain't gonna get any better, but without money, and we've got some big expenses, Jennifer and I have talked a little bit, we've got, some things coming to you tonight about the fire department, we've got, putting aside money to work on some of our water tanks, all those kinds of things that are coming up, so I don't think January 2023 is practical unless,
I'd entertain a motion to approve the agreement with the January 2024 replacing January 2023.
So moved.
Ms. Jones has made a motion to that effect. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller is second. Of course, this has been a living, breathing document continuously.
But are you saying, giving authorization to sign this agreement?
Yes.
if they approve.
If
If
they
If
they
they
approve
approve,
the
if they
20.
approve that extra year,
24.
what are they gonna do? I mean, we'll just say, okay, then we're not gonna tear it down. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up, water supply, Nottaway County Water Supply.
I'm under the impression that either tomorrow night or Wednesday night, Jake and I are gonna be meeting with representatives of the town of Crew and of Nottaway County. Sadly, we will not be joined by the town of Burkeville, it appears. Continue to work and, look at different options for getting water there. As you know, Nottaway County has been approached by Prince Edward County and the Department of, General Services at the state, with a revised, resolution stating that the only customers that were being sought, were the town of Burkeville and the state facilities. I do not expect that has been considered by the Board of Supervisors. I don't think it has. We've asked them to allow this process to move forward a little bit further. I don't think the county has done anything to this point. The problem is, and I expect prices will be coming down, but as with the armory, I asked for costs for running water lines between the town of Burkeville, or excuse me, the town of Blackstone and the town of Crew, and this would, first item that you have up on the screen would be the cost on today's conditions, or at least as of August 30th, to run a water line from the existing water tank on Northwest Avenue to the high school courthouse complex, and that's in excess of $17 million to do so. When this process started, the state was going to pay that in its entirety. That's not out of the question if we find that the state is going to participate in this program, and but you guys need to know what you're getting into there. $17,050,934 for the total project. I do expect prices are going to come down. I think the prices of everything, the economy is going to slow, but what has happened, and I don't want to make a political statement, is there are so many federal dollars out there to be chasing. You guys have seen grants and grants and grants and ARPA and all this stuff going on. I don't know if the economy slowing is necessarily going to slow down these utility projects, especially with the infrastructure bill that's just come out, and that money's not even hit the market yet. But I think the immediate cost, keeping in the back of your mind, could be as much as $17 million, and that just gets it to the high school.
Gets us where?
Just gets you to the high school. This doesn't take it to Berkeley. Okay? If you go to the next graphic, this is also an update of previous estimations for raw water conveyance system and improvements that would need to be done inside the town and on the post at Fort Pickett in order to serve water. The raw water conveyance system, or that portion of that estimate, if you remember, the pipe is not undersized or leaking or giving us a particular amount of problems, but MacBug does have concerns that if we start pumping 2 and 3 times the water that we're doing now, that 80-year-old water line could be giving us some problems. Those upgrades would equate to an additional $20,562,000, which is appreciably more than the first estimate that we gave you, probably a year ago.
What's the cost? We've got an 80-year-old line from the reservoir to the water treatment plant. What's the cost of just fixing that?
Of what? Out of that amount?
Just repairing the 80-year-old water line that goes from the Fort Pickett Reservoir Dam to the water treatment plant. What does that cost?
If you look on there, it says raw water main upgrade is $7,886,000. And I know and that's just construction cost. That doesn't have soft cost contingencies or engineering or
Is that it
anything.
right there?
Yep.
That's something that's got to be done regardless of whether we make a big
You got
water
80-year-old
deal.
pipe, sooner or later it's gonna go south of you. So it was built during World War II, and it's a cast iron line, and has approached its useful age probably in the 80s.
Is there a will on this council? Maybe there's a curiosity, but is there a will and desire in this council to continue to talk about providing water to the western end of the county? That's my question. At dozens of millions of dollars.
I would have to say, and speaking for Jake and I have been going to those meetings, I think that the expectation is we'll continue the process of talking. But of course, these costs cannot totally be passed on. Now, portions of it can be because it's applicable to all the customers, town included. But those that are specific to providing water to their state facilities or to crew, I think have to be made up in the rates, quite frankly. I don't think
Absolutely.
people inside town limits need to pay for a water line to serve a prison out in the upper end of the county. I think the rates need to reflect the operation and maintenance and the debt, including debt service for that portion. Now, the raw water line, I think certainly the system in a whole, including citizens in Blackstone and Fort Pickett and everybody else that use it, should be responsible for that portion of it. But that which is specific, which are the 2 items at the top, can you scroll down just a skosh? Just scroll down just a,
Oh, sure, I'm not doing anything.
no, scroll up.
Okay.
Those 2 right there. It says 10th Street and Military Highway water line and Route 40 water line, Rocky Bump Road to Main Street. Those are specific to upgrade the size of piping to push enough water up the upper end. Okay, so those would need to be recovered through rates.
But again, the goal of the talk is if the system isn't gonna pay for itself, then I think I can speak for all of us, we're not gonna be interested in doing it. And that's the attitude that we've held through our meetings.
And I don't think any of this works without the state facilities. You've got to have them to pay it back.
There's
I mean,
no
town
other-
crew couldn't pay it back itself.
No.
There's no way.
So you're asking tonight to have council authorize me to sign this letter, joint letter with the mayor of
There
Crew?
is 2 additional correspondence, one from the town of Burkeville saying thanks but no thanks.
Right.
That
Yeah, it's
they
in
feel
the-
like it's in their best interest to go with Prince Edward. And the second letter was prepared by Philip Miskovic, the mayor and crew, and there were a few changes, specifically the third paragraph, where it noted that the town of Burkeville has declined to sign this letter. And those are the biggest modifications to it. But as I feel, I'll be honest with you, I think this is kind of the town of Crew's picket pleasure.
Fort Pickett issue, yeah, Fort
This is
Pickett
their
moment.
devices. We had ours in '95. This is theirs now. So I think in everybody's best interest, if you remember '95, it was banners and posters and put your flags out on the street and calling Congress people. I do think the town of Crew has a serious problem if they lose these facilities.
All right, I'd entertain a motion for council to authorize me to sign this letter. That's a joint letter with the town of Crew to the Board of Supervisors.
So moved.
And I'm willing to sign it. Mr. Miller has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allman has seconded. Any further discussion? I just think, I think this is good to continue the good faith efforts. I will tell you that my fear is, I know you should never give your fallback position in negotiations, but the bottom line is, I mean, they've been having closed sessions at Nottaway for the last 6 months on water, and Nottaway County doesn't own a water system. So what's being discussed? My concern is that we may have to one day make sure that, look, y'all do what you want to do, just don't come east of the high school. Because, you know, I don't want anybody poaching the customers we've got one day. Because there was a resolution floating around, I was told, I haven't seen it, that would give Prince Edward permission to serve the state facilities and other establishments in Nottaway County. That was alarming.
Any customer, I think, is what it says.
That's alarming, very alarming.
And there has been a revised one that says Burkeville and the state facilities, but I think the effect is the same to the town of Crew.
Right.
They're gonna.
But all in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next up, you have a gift, deed of gift on Bird Road from the Blackstone Building Group.
I don't think this advances our cause in any way, but it is a result of, if you remember, there were townhouses built on Bird Road. And this was the residual piece of property that we already have our utilities on and the access road to Gospel Hill Pump Station.
This is Rick Byers. He's like, there's 6 or 7 townhouses together. I believe he's about sold all of them, man. It's close.
He put 7 townhouses in there, and this is the residual property that he could not build on because we already have a force main and our access road on that piece of property, and he's proposing just to give it to the town. We have easement on it anyhow.
Motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
Scott is second to Ms. Jones's motion. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next up, you have some repairs to the LCC DC building on South Harris Street.
Some time ago, and it was probably in May or maybe even earlier, council authorized us to replace some windows that had been broken at the LCC DC building. The windows have been replaced, and that has been done. We believe that to be typical maintenance that the agreement requires. There are 2 additional items that Yvonne had requested that we do. One is to replace some doors, and the second one was to put in a camera system or a surveillance system at the property. We have enclosed for you an estimate for the replacement of the doors was over $4,000, and I think the town is in the process of installing a new camera system, and that was over $7,000, but that was going to have audio. So my estimation it would be about $6,000, so a total of about $10,000 to do the 2 items.
Is the surveillance, where is the surveillance going to be aimed at?
I would suspect toward the front door and to the rear of the building.
Okay.
And-
Just a question, just because it's nearby. Are there cameras on the basketball court?
No.
I just did not know. I just know it's nearby. I just threw that out there.
Not
All right.
yet. They
We
may
need to
be
get
here
'em, though.
very soon.
I didn't.
Yeah, we need to get
I
'em.
just wondered if that was that was part of the reason for this request. But basically, that you don't believe these requests will exceed $10,000. So I'd entertain a motion to proceed, if council so desires.
So moved.
Mr. Miller has moved to proceed. Is there a second?
Second. It does say he expects it to
Right.
exceed 10,000.
Let's go roll call in case it does. Mr. Miller?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Ms. Scott?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Next up, you've got the peak generator, and this is a testament to Eric Nash's
It is to his
financial.
doggedness. Yeah.
I didn't think he had a prayer, but basically we had a $218,000 repair to the peak generator. And that, I figured that was just the cost of doing business, and Eric Nash said, let's turn it into the insurance company, and I'm thinking, there's no way that's gonna happen. And lo and behold, they covered it.
Covered it, yep. Good job by all involved. Dan met with them over 2 or 3 occasions, and $218,000 was provided to the town for the repairs. I'm not sure the repairs are wholly complete. We are able to run on peak generation. However, there were some items that were being done to a low coolant system that were not covered, and I'm not sure if that has been completely done. Working with Jennifer, there had been enough money set aside for those repairs. However, insurance carrier assessed the damage, made payment in the full amount. The savings have been used to pay off 3 loans with USDA, and that's what I was letting you know, that we paid off 2 police cars. We paid off a mini excavator that Andre uses in the water and sewer and the electric uses to a degree, and a skid steer that has a mowing head and an asphalt zipper and a bucket and that sort of thing. Those have all, the principals have been paid off for those.
This is informational, but good information.
Good information.
Very positive information. Next up, we have believe it or not, folks, we have a ditch issue. Forest Drive, I see some folks at 8th Street paying close attention. Street and Light Committee reviewed an open ditch at 216 Forest Drive, and the solution is to pipe a portion and build an inlet box,
And
$8,000.
I think the piping will be additional, so you're probably at or around $10,000. The question is not whether it's on town property or not. It's definitely on town property. It's parallel to the asphalt. The property owners are asking this to be done. But if you remember, as a result of a culvert that was put in on 10th Street, there was a policy adopted that says the cost for any of this kind of thing will now be wholly borne by the.
Remember that vividly, right
Probably.
before the policy change, I believe.
So I'm asking if it is the council's intention that the town pay for this, or do we need to report to the property owners that it would be their responsibility based on this policy?
If it's the town property, I would say that we need to take care of it.
It is town property. It's
So
just
when we
kind of a
talked,
eroded, nasty ditch.
And when we talked, and we didn't tell them that.
No,
you
we
know,
didn't.
So,
We did not tell them on the side of the road that they would be responsible for paying.
It'd be hard to justify going on private property and the people of Blackstone paying for it, yet we go on town property and say, you, the person, has to.
Exactly.
That does not compute.
Exactly.
I would entertain a motion by council, if so chooses, to proceed with the piping, and we'll do a roll call in case it exceeds 10,000.
So move.
Ms. Jones has moved. Is the town bearing the cost? Is there a second?
second.
Mr. Miller has seconded. We'll have a roll call vote starting with Scott.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. Yes,
Would you consider repealing that previous policy,
the previous policy of,
what you just did?
The property owners not having to pay for it or having to pay for it on town property.
certainly we could consider that.
What is he repealing?
He's saying basically the policy, there should be no policy where a private property owner has to pay for
Right.
something on town
Yeah,
property.
Exactly.
that's right.
Yeah.
Take that to committee.
Let's put
street
that on committee, Street and Light Committee, and move on that. Good suggestion, Mr. Green. Good suggestion.
Councilman Nash is gonna be sorry, he's missed all of
He's
it.
missing all the action. If you wanna spend some money, you better do it quick. Well, speaking of which, this is my idea. I've gotten all mellow. That's part of the reason I'm stepping down. But I asked about a month or two ago. I said, look, the salary of council and mayor has been what it is since 2006. This is not inflation driven. This is not about cost of living increases for council members because it's a part-time job. It's a full-time honor. But the salaries of council members are $1,500 and $2,000 for the mayor. The council members especially are underpaid. They do all the heavy lifting. Y'all are meeting in committees. And of course, it would not be these folks sitting here necessarily. I inquired about the next council and next mayor receiving, and I thought it symbolically, similar to a request that I vetoed 4 years ago. I think I threw out $3,500 a year per person. Supervisors make $5,000. The school chairman makes $6,000. The school board makes $4,800 a year. I just thought a lot of heavy lifting from everybody here. So you have notification by Attorney Bacon. It was believed that we could not do that, but that applied only to cities.
That's correct.
This town we have to have a hearing next month, I believe. Can have a public hearing and propose raising the pay to whatever y'all decide. I threw out $3,500 for the mayor and the council just as a show of solidarity. And we're different, but we're busy in different ways, but we're busy. I'll be in a Dunkin' booth Saturday, I believe, so if y'all wanna join me, y'all come on.
Maybe at the Dunkin' booth next month.
A lot of weeks we don't get no time.
Right, right.
We'll have a public meeting at the next time or
Well, what does
public
council, does council wish to, like I said, I know some members, some people to my left and my right are planning to come back, some are not. I know two to my left are planning not to come back, so not running for re-election, you're running. What is council's pleasure?
I think we should, I'd like to make a motion that we give council a raise.
Be the next council.
The
Start,
next
it'd be
council.
starting with the January 2023 council, and they have to have a public hearing at the October council meeting.
And do you want to do the 3,500?
We'll advertise
You
3,500.
could advertise that, you can come down, you can come, if people say, we like the raise, but that's too much, you can come down.
You want the mayor and council equal?
That's what I just threw out there. I think in 2018, it was 3,000 each was the proposal.
Good point.
I beat
Is there a
that.
difference
March
for
of
the mayor?
2018.
Well, I said 3,500 for the council members and then the mayor 4.
Well,
No?
what? not-
Okay,
not
what
go-
you get now? I mean,
Two.
Okay, and we get, yeah,
We
why
get
not 35 and
1,500.
4? Yeah, 35 and 4.
All right.
Yeah.
Would you amend your motion to 4,000 for the mayor and 3,500 for council?
Yes.
All right, this is simply to hold a hearing.
I'll amend my motion and add to it that the mayor receive 4,000 and council receive 3,500.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. Ms. Scott, you second?
Yes, no.
Oh, it's Ms. Jones, sorry, Ms. Jones, Ms. Jones second. Any discussion? It's just having a hearing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries 4-0. We have item, y'all make me wanna stay a while longer. Oak Street.
Yeah, we did the fire department grant portion.
We
Deed
did.
of
Number
gift.
10, we're on number 10, 415 Oak Street, the blighted structure. We're
The
being
two
given.
property owners have been to my office, and Jennifer Daniel and I have had them sign and execute and notarize their signatures. If council chooses to, we can accept this property and record it and begin the process of demolition. We would own the property, we would demolish the property, we would sell it.
Seal
and
bids or
with the or use a realtor or whatever it is, and have an expectation that the funds would cover our cost, and then anything, the difference would be given back to the property owner, if in excess of our actual expenses. So let's say we sell it for 30 and our costs are 26, including legal fees and everything else, then the $4,000 would be returned to the property owner.
Okay.
Okay. In fairness, I think that we should give anything in excess of our efforts. Okay.
Okay. What is council's pleasure?
However,
Okay.
in talking to Ken the other day, I'm a little concerned about the quality of title. I think that, not the liens, nothing like that, but the quality of the title or the chain of title from where the current owners received the property. Enough so that I've asked Tessie to contact Ken, and what I would like tonight, if I can get a motion contingent on Tessie's recommendation or coming back to me and saying, no, we need to proceed on with a process of condemnation. So, because if the judge deeds the property to the town, then it clears up any of the cloud of title. If Tessie says, no, I'm satisfied and comfortable with it, then I would like to proceed on with the process. But I'm concerned enough that I've asked Tessie to communicate with Ken and talk about the title. I expect Tessie will recommend that we go to circuit court or general district court and ask the judge to proceed with the condemnation of the property, to clean the title. And like
Worried
with
about
a,
outstanding heirs out there or something? Are you worried about?
no, I'm not worried about that. As Ken has explained it to me, when they purchased the property, it was listed as the ownership of one entity. A second entity in the state of West Virginia had the exact same name, and I think they had gone in and done this to several of the properties, and they actually represented themselves as the owner, and the deed to them came from this other entity.
Okay.
I want Tessie to clean it and scrub it and tell me what she thinks, and, but they have signed with the expectation that the property would be given to the town and that the property would be demolished, sold, and any additional proceeds would be distributed.
So your request is accept the deed of gift and record it, seek bids for the asbestos removal, and proceed with demolition.
Unless Tessie tells me,
Contingent
Contingent
upon
on-
town
contingent
attorney.
on Tessie's approval, with the other option being that we proceed on with the condemnation process.
All right, is there a member of council who'd like to make that motion to that effect?
I make a motion.
Ms. Jones has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams is second. Any further discussion? Let's have a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Scott.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I will report to council, and if she does recommend that we need to go on with the condemnation process, obviously we've got to tell the property owners, and two, there'll be a public hearing at the October council meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that okay?
I'm just looking at ongoing projects, something I missed when I was reading my packet on Nottaway Avenue. You've had some demolitions, but a roofing company mistakenly removed the roof.
Here's the deal, it's a mess. It was a poo show. All right, 103 and 105 Nottaway Avenue were owned by the same family, and there were two representatives of the family, a Miss Clay and a Miss Greenhill. 1003 was declared blighted because somebody had broken all the windows out. It was a really old white frame structure set on the corner. And I declared it, guys, you got to do something, blighted and all that. 1005 didn't look that bad. It really did not look horrible. But the inside was gutted and it was a mess. But as far as blighted goes, declaring it blighted, I couldn't see any blight on the outside of the building. So Ms. Greenhill, Ms. Clay, their family paid to have the asbestos abated in 1003 and to have the building demolished by a private contractor. We didn't have anything to do with it. While that was going on, Ms. Greenhill called me one day and said, why is the town ripping the roof off of my house at 1005? And it was not the town. The people that live in 1007 had purchased a new metal roof to be put on their house, and the roofers put it on the wrong house.
Oh, wow.
They put it on a dilapidated old, I mean, it really was bad.
I'm sure someone's no longer with that roofing company.
Holy mackerel. And I told her, I said, ma'am, I don't know, but I'll find out. And they mistakenly took the roof off of 1005. So it was literally open to the elements at that point, and put it on the correct house. So in sympathies with Ms. Clay and Ms. Greenhill, I said, I'll tell you what, because there was a tremendous amount of asbestos on that house. The entire siding on the outside was asbestos. And I had already seen the estimate was $9,000 to get the asbestos off. And I told them, if you guys get the asbestos off this thing, the town will tear it down, and we've torn that house down. And Wallace did it in one day, and crews driving it back and forth. But it was just a partially blighted house that was gonna go to poo. But I would like to publicly thank, because most of the time this doesn't go very smooth, Ms. Greenhill and Ms. Clay were very helpful, and they spent a lot of money doing this out of their own pocket, and the town did have some costs where we carried debris to the landfill, and Wallace Acres did it. But we wanted you to know that.
Yeah, that's a new one. I mean, you think you've seen it all.
Yeah.
That was fun. As far as meals lodging tax, we've got 2 outstanding meals tax and no outstanding lodging tax.
And I, talked to the treasurer today, one of those, meals tax is 2 months behind, and she said her next step is going to attorney vacation.
So there's
tomorrow-
2 establishments. One
And
will,
tomorrow is the 20th, so they will be 3 months behind.
so one will be 3 months and one is going on 2,
One is 1 month and one is tomorrow will be 3 months.
going on 3.
And so you know, I received a text from that same business owner earlier today and asked if the town would be agreeable to taking payments on that meals tax. And I don't mean to throw that on you, but I will see what we can do and see what the ordinance permits and report back to council.
I don't believe it does. I believe the ordinance says remit on the 20th.
It does.
It's supposed to be held in escrow.
It's
That's the escrow.
That's
yeah, as Mr. Green and I can testify, it's like I said, the tax is paid by the patrons. It's collected by the establishment and remitted to the town. It's,
Right.
all right, you have direction. I had a question the other day from somebody out of the blue on lodging taxes. And I think the answer is basically going to be the best. I think the answer is going to be the best we can. But let's say someone's got I know several people in Blackstone. I know one in particular. Some days they live at their house and they have another place they can stay and they do Airbnb. All right, it's just one bedroom, whatever. Somebody said, if you live in an R1 zone, is there a limit? Say you've got 3 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms. Can you do that?
I don't think building code will permit it. I think if you have separate people of not the same family,
Okay.
I'm telling you this and I can double check it, but off
Right.
the top of my head, that you have to have separate entrances and you have to have separate electric meters.
Okay.
If they're not domiciled in the same family and
Okay.
that sort of thing. So can they rent out separate rooms? We've had that issue come up on College and 3rd Street, across from the old Julia Stiles place. There was a blue house that's been renovated nicely, and the question was, they're renting the room, but indeed that was a duplex and was
Okay.
permissible.
Separate entrances. Yeah, there's entrance on the back. I know the house across from Juju's house.
Exactly.
Okay, just like people are asking me, and I think it's a trend we're seeing here.
Well, I would think probably, and that'll be on me and maybe a health and ordinance committee. There's people smarter than I am for sure that have come up with a Airbnb ordinance
Right.
out there, and maybe we need to take a look at that. At the same time, maybe we need to look at 420 events. You know, there was some events on Main Street that were concerning to other merchants in regards to adult activities, and we'll tell you there was a individual who was advertising 420 events. 420 events apparently as a marijuana-oriented event. They were going to have a paint and puff event that was advertised, and end result was we met with the Commonwealth's attorney, Deputy Commonwealth's Attorney Khalil. I don't know if that's first or last name.
Khalil Latif.
Very helpful. He said not legal to use marijuana unless it's in your home. However, the police cannot determine whether it's marijuana or not by the smell alone, by the state code. Again, animal control, marijuana laws, I probably need to polish up. But the police department, the event was held. I don't know if there was a big turnout. Police presence was there. Khalil gave us some recommendations to keep a watchful eye and a vigilance on it. I do think it's a violation of state code to consume THC containing marijuana unless it's at your home, as I understand.
Might we want to take this opportunity? I know people are grandfathered. We have an ordinance that we have, like, basically Food Lane and Walmart shopping centers, what we call the specialized business district. That's for, like, I think things like if somebody wanted to do a
Tattoo.
X-ray movies, which we had on Main Street one time. X-rated movie. Might we want to add those type of establishments in the future to
I think
this
it's worthwhile to sit down and
specialized-
start talking about those because I think we're going to see it more often, and as I think we're going to see some of these types of things more often.
Would we like to? Could I refer that to health and ordinance?
Yeah, please,
Yeah,
if
and
you
I don't
would.
mean to pick on, because as far as I know, everybody's legal and in good standing. You hear all kinds of things in a small town, but we certainly want to keep our downtown business district small town America. That's just my personal opinion. Move right along to the. Somebody have a question? I'm sorry. Street improvements.
Street improvements. Miss Lax has left, so the pressure is off a bit, but South Main Street is coming along. They've started pouring some concrete. They have to, the biggest part, and the reason why I've explained to folks on 10th Street why we haven't taken up the speed bumps is because they have to go back into Main Street and dig out the old culvert, which was a corrugated metal culvert, and if we don't take it out, it's just going to collapse out. So we got to go back across Main Street and take one out, but not put one back, so it won't be as lengthy. And that's part of the reason why I'm explaining to folks we need to leave the speed bump down there on 10th because it is going to be another traffic snarl here in a few days again.
Okay.
Okay. Jason Walker is the subcontractor who will be doing the concrete, and we'll take the sidewalk all the way to 10th Street, and we want to notify property owners. We're going to try to stay within our right-of-way. We have no expectation to get out of the right-of-way, but maybe some bushes get trimmed and that sort of thing. So nonetheless, that should be going on in the next 2 weeks. I do believe it will be in the month of October when the paving gets done.
Okay.
Y'all, I guess you're probably aware there is sidewalk all the way to 10th Street. It's just that some of it is covered
No,
in front of the Virginia Tech House.
No,
Did they make it and then stop and then start again?
Well, it's a 100-year-old sidewalk, but it's there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's not maintained, we're gonna be back.
it's not all the way through. No, there's a sidewalk that has to be built. If you go to the vacant lot next to the Virginia Tech house, there's no sidewalk there. There's sidewalk in front of Mr. Eden's house, and then not sidewalk in front of Joe Alder's house, for example. So, however that happened, I don't know, but
He's so happy when it's done.
it'll be sidewalk all the way through, and then it'll be the setting the stage for sidewalk going to Walmart. That'll be
Right.
the next phase.
Which Mr. Bagley and I have concerns about. The sidewalk to nowhere is my biggest fear. I'm with you. I worry, but anyway, we digress. Wrigglesworth, nothing to report. Grass is growing, and
I will tell you, the paving on Main Street is
sorry.
a supply chain problem. They can't get the tape or the heated tape that they put down for the yellow lines in the Main Street and the
Really?
stop bars and the parking spaces. Not available. They're having trouble getting enough of it to do it. And that's why it has not been done. But as soon as it is told to us when they're gonna do it, we'll let everybody know. Okay.
You mean this part of Main Street?
all right, moving right along. Nothing on Wrigglesworth. On the east end, we have 2 new homes under construction. One on Fitzgerald Street, one on Harris Street.
We have one that that we've received bids on, that it'll be a new home on Fitzgerald Street as well, and a renovation on Tavern Street. Stormwater improvements and I'll let you know, B&B Consultants asked me which one to focus on. I told them to go ahead and get the plans done for Northwest Avenue, stormwater improvements next to Bobby Evans's house, and I should have that out in the paper, probably not tomorrow, but in the following week. That'll be out to bids. I've got some easement work that I need to do on that, but we're gonna try to proceed on so we can try to catch some weather before it gets too wet there. And then the storm sewer project on East End is forthcoming. Part of the reason I'm asking for patience on East End is it's gonna be more expensive than the amount of money that we have in the grant, so we're gonna have to set some cash aside to finish that project.
Well,
Yes, sir.
shouldn't that be Broad Street, Fitzgerald and Broad Street for the renovation?
Yes, that is correct. It is not on Tavern Street,
Not
it is on
Tavern
Broad Street.
it's,
It is correct.
Right.
The renovation is on Broad Street, I apologize, yes, sir. But the new one is on Fitzgerald.
So under
Yeah.
construction, Fitzgerald and Harris, is that correct?
No, that is correct, but additionally, bids have been
Additionally-
received for 2 homes.
One on
One being
Fisher,
on
the other on Broad.
Renovation
Broad
on
Street,
Broad
East
Street.
Broad Street.
That's correct.
Good catch here, Mr. Miller. Moving right along to Taylor Bottom,
Nothing to report at this time?
and of course, the big ticket item, the Armory, is, not surprisingly, is gonna cost more than the animal control shelter, it looks like. I mean, it's just,
We currently estimated on spending $2.2 million of ARPA money plus a $250,000 grant from the Department of Economic Development from the state. As part of what we were trying to accomplish, if you remember last month, or maybe even the month before, we received authorization to apply for another industrial revitalization grant up to $1 million. In doing so, we needed to justify that $1 million. We had expectation that we would exceed the 2.2 million, and indeed, $3.8 million. So we hope that the 2.2 plus the $1 million that IRF, that Chassis assured us that we're going to get, and potentially other grant applications, including a Rural Business Enterprise grant through USDA, will get us where we want to be. And,
someone asked me the other day, and I was embarrassed to say, you know, I don't know the answer to the question. We're talking about the activity, Virginia State hospitality, which is great. Just generally speaking, if one walks in the new and improved renovated Armory, are we gonna still see an open floor? We're gonna still see a stage?
I think the expectation there'll be a floor, but I think there'll also be a dais for council.
Right.
At some
Council
point,
meetings
maybe
like
even portable or
Right.
something that the council can have meetings. I think there's always been an expectation there's going to be some recreation component to what we're
Correct.
doing. And I think that would be a violation of kind of what we talked about 2 years ago.
Totally
with the-
agree, totally
So,
agree.
yes, I think there'll be a basketball court, multi-purpose use.
Raise
it'll-
the goals, lower the goals, no
Sort
problem.
of thing, yeah.
And the only thing I will say, I'll beg, and this is where I will be in this capacity and in my next private capacity, I am a stickler. And I don't care what it costs, make sure that the sound system.
It's good, right.
I've been to meetings, I was at a meeting recently where, in the Brookville cafeteria, they had an electoral board meeting. And there's been terrible audio, acoustics there. So what they do, they give everybody a microphone, guess what? 10 times worse. Echo chamber, if you're not directly on the microphone, and that is the best way to lose a crowd or frustrate people.
I don't think the Armory is going to be the easiest place to get acoustically
It's gonna be a challenge,
sound, so
but it's
I
gonna be
think,
very important. It's gonna be a community building.
I think Chastity has something she'd like to add.
Yes.
Speaking with Virginia State University, they told us the best system to use for their teaching as well for the building would be called a high-flex system, which is primarily one main computer component for teaching, but it has a secondary visual aid that sits either on a side wall or a back wall, but the sound is transmitted through particles. So it's like particle sound and walls. It's kind of a new thing, but you'll be able to hear the slightest pin drop based on.
Good, because I just want everybody to be able to hear whether it's a play or a council meeting or just a reunion or whatever, or class especially. That's good. That's good that they're talking that way. That's good. Because a lot of people just buy a sound system, stick it in there and go. All right, very good, very good. Moving right along after the Armory, we have weatherization.
The asbestos has been removed from 916 Fall Street. It was done over the course of this past weekend. We were going to begin demolition, but Wallace took vacation this week, so it looks like it'll be next Monday before we get started tearing down 916 Fall Street. The bids have been received. I do have a bid tabulation that Jennifer had put together, and that Chassis provided to me. And there it is. And as you can see, we received 3 bids. the low bidder being Divine Builders of Amelia, and I think the total between all those items together was $84,500.
Is the address on there?
I don't see it on there, but it is 916. It's Mr. Blunt's property on
Right,
Fall
okay.
Street, and we're asking because this is weatherization. This isn't specifically a grant project. We're asking authorization to proceed on with Divine Builders of Amelia. We had $100,000 set aside for the project, but we want to take some trees down. Obviously, the demolition, asbestos, and that sort of thing. If you look at it, it's a very wooded lot, a lot of trees hanging over the house. But we're asking authorization to proceed with Divine Builders of Amelia in the amount of $84,500.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the lowest responsible bidder that the town manager explained. That's $84,500 to Divine Builders of Amelia.
So moved.
Mr. Miller has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams is seconded. Further discussion? Roll call vote, starting with Mr. Allman.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Moving right along to new business, we have voltage regulators. This is a bid about $100,000. Mr. Benobeck.
The expectation is that we would like to replace these. However, I will tell you the lead time is very lengthy. And you can see 62 to 66 weeks was the actual low bidder. However, the second lowest bidder, which is Irby Utilities, can get them to us in approximately half the amount of time for a difference of $920. Our recommendation from Progressive Engineering would be to reject the low bidder because of the excessive lead time of 62 to 66 weeks and make the award to Irby Utilities. And I think the motion needs to reflect a rejection because of the lead time, and we're requesting authorization to award to Irby Utilities in the amount of $99,870
Where would these be located?
at the.
Just to have them?
No. They'll replace existing equipment that's located at the transfer station over on West Entrance Road.
Okay. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Mr. Miller has moved to approve the second lowest bid, rejecting the first bid due to the prolonged delay. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Jones is second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, starting with Mr. Allman.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Number 2, under new business, Talbert and Bright, work authorization.
We seem to have found our groove when it comes to applying for grants with the Department of Aviation now. Talbot and Bright has done a good job on our taxiway project. This is a separate project for lighting. We don't have any good taxiway lighting at all out there right now, and some additional lighting on the fueling pad and I guess the tie-down area. So what we've asked Talbot and Bright is give us a work authorization. That work authorization had to be submitted to the Department of Aviation to make the November board meeting. They've confirmed it's been received, but we're asking authorization to execute this, I guess, agreement with Talbot and Bright in order for this to happen. It would only happen in the event the grant was awarded. Okay.
Is there a cost?
There's that's estimated
$58,000.
$58,000 is the total project cost. How much, is that all Talbot and Bright, or?
I think that's the engineering cost for the design and for the implementation or the construction services.
So you're asking for a motion to proceed with the agreement with Talbot and Bright?
With the caveat that it would be applicable only if Department of Aviation funding was forthcoming.
Contingent upon the grant. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion been made to Mr. Allman, second by Ms. Jones. This is for taxiway lighting.
Taxiway and fuel apron, I guess, and there's a tie-down area where you can take ropes and tie down the,
Right now, there's a
okay.
portion of the taxiway out on the airfield that is kind of in a no man's land where it doesn't serve the military, so therefore, the military doesn't want to put any lighting into it.
Right.
At the same time, there's been some threats of closing that taxiway for night use,
Okay,
which would be significant for the airport.
gotcha.
I don't think that could happen, but at the same time, and as a safety thing, it would be a great idea to get some lighting out there. And Department of Aviation seem really positive about the project.
Especially for those Tesla pilots. We want those electric vehicle pilots to have all the light they have. Well, I'll have a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Allman.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 5-0. And then we have VML VACO. We've had Mr. John Montaro, who is, and our finance director, Ms. Hardy, has requested we continue to use his services from time to time, or how?
If, as needed for Jennifer, she has questions or preparing for the audit, those
I
kinds
like
of
it.
thit. Things. And Mr. Montour's with VML Vaco Finance. It may be in excess of $10,000. I don't expect it to be because it'll be, again, on call. But it is $125 an hour, and we ask that council authorize the execution of that agreement and let Ms. Hardy monitor the amount of time that she needs and all those kinds of things. And but if you would do the roll call vote.
Yeah,
in
this
the event it
this is
exceeds.
good because this is independent from our auditor,
Independent from our order. That's
and
correct.
so it's another layer of protection, which I notice a lot of local governments are doing that.
If you remember, Sheila Minor did it for us. Minor
did, a little
Associates
bit.
did
I
this
remember
kind of
that.
stuff.
Remember that?
And I would request that you authorize us to execute the.
You've heard the town manager's recommendation. I would entertain a motion to continue to engage Mr. John Montaro. His fee is $125 per hour as needed. Is there a motion to that effect? Ms. Jones has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Scott has seconded. I'll ask for a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Almond.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Motion carries 5-0. New business number 4, procurement,
If
health insurance.
our request is just authorization, no major cost or effort right now, but I think during the budgeting process, there's been some discussion about seeking proposals for auditing services. Robinson Farmer Cox has been with the town. I let you know, we're not dissatisfied. I think Jennifer and they have a good relationship as far as going through the audit. I think she understands what they're looking for and vice versa. So we're not dissatisfied with any of these items, with our health insurance or with our workers' comp, property and casualty, but we are requesting authorization to seek proposals and to use a consultant to evaluate the proposals. I don't know the cost of that, but I would like to go out and find somebody who can compare apples and apples in a health insurance policy.
I think that's good business. I'd entertain a motion to grant the manager's request.
So moved.
Ms. Jones has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item is a pretty serious business, the fire department floor. And that station was built its first day of operation was February 1st, 2003, and firemen are slipping all over the floor, and
It's slick, no
it's a
doubt.
moisture issue that no one seems to. I asked the chief the other day. It's inexplicable. It's not just on humid days when the bay doors are open. It's just, but they've got footage there, and it's kind of horrifying to watch guys walking and all of a sudden just wiping out on hard concrete.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's,
I think the concrete itself has a very slick finish, and I think that's as much a part of any of it. We did not have this in the budget. We did have $115,000 in the budget to put a new roof on the fire department this year. And talking to Dion, I can't do both. Which one is priority? And he said he would like to do this floor. He did get a cost estimate from one provider, and it was in excess of $100,000 to do this. Asking authorization to let me go through a procurement process and see if there are other proposals, if this is a proprietary type of epoxy that goes on the floor, and try to find some bids to do this.
I think the bids, well, the way things are going, who knows what inflation will do, but I think bids is the way to go. It's going to. Members of council, what's your pleasure? You can ask the chief. Since they put cameras up, you can see. I mean, first reactions, you kind of. It's kind of funny. Then it's like horrifying because we've had. Was it Todd? Somebody got hurt. One
Pridgeon hurt himself.
got very hurt. Just walking. They're not running in horseplay. It's just like getting out of a truck or walking. Two guys talking, and like one of them shifts their feet, and then they're bailing out on the floor. It's horrifying to look at.
So moved.
All right, Ms. Jones has moved to authorize the manager to seek bids. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 5-0. New business number 6, commercial driver's license.
Right now, if you didn't know, after the 1st of July, I think the new state code went into effect, that it's no longer that you can just go up and take your commercial driver license test and pass it. You have to take a course. Okay, that course, as we understand, could be in excess of $3,000. I think Jennifer's done a little research on it. There may be places to find it less expensive, but this is a course that can be taken either during the day or in a shorter period of time. Someone like Dunk Quick that has that South Side, that's a full-time 6-week course, so that's unrealistic. We have always paid employees to go get their CDL on town time and study books and all those kinds of things that we've provided. But I think this goes beyond us just being supportive. What I would like to do for any employee that wants to pursue a CDL is that they would sign an agreement that once you get your CDL, you can leave, but just like we do with the police department or electrician,
Make us
that if
whole.
you leave in a certain amount of time, that you would have
3
to pay
years
back
usually.
that CDL.
3 years
license.
prorated.
Prorated. And I would like to present to you guys a policy of some sort, but it would be very similar to what the police department and electric department do. We pay you to go to school. We don't expect you to leave in 6 months, but if you do,
Right.
then you owe us this portion of it.
Smart business. I'd recommend that go, when you do that, present that to the employment and police committee,
Mm-hmm.
just as a layer, and then bring it to the council.
And the
Great,
last
great,
item.
great idea.
Last item for you, I think wisely, the council should be aware. I think there's been some controversy recently about election signs. Okay.
Oh, very good. I asked the town manager to bring this up because I thought it's important the council speak or not maybe vote or let it be known what you can and can't do in Blackstone this year.
In the town of Blackstone, we have never enforced election signs. You put them on the side of the road, you put them on people's property if they give you
Or
permission.
yard sale signs on telephone poles.
Or yard sales, those are not permissible either. But we're pretty lenient, and I'll be honest with you, looking at the state code, my understanding of the state code is you cannot put election signs in the VDOT right-of-way. We don't have VDOT right-of-way in the town of Blackstone. We own all of our own streets. So I don't think it specifies in the state code specifically on towns' streets, but it does so with VDOT. I've never pulled one up, but I wait a week till after the election, and if they're still on the side of the road, then I usually go start pulling them up. I think there's been some concerns recently because it's really unaddressed in our ordinances. The closest I can find is in our zoning ordinance where it says temporary signs are not permissible except for in the event we have a grand opening or something like that. But I'll be honest with you, I've never pulled up an election sign, and unless directed otherwise, it's not my expectation.
The worst
I
thing
hope you don't start.
Well, the worst thing you do is be seen pull up someone's sign because then immediately it's just, it's viewed as a political act. But there is something in our code, I love it to death, and I've told you this privately. There's an ordinance, often violated. It states there's no advertising on town property.
I think town council, and Jake reminded me of this, if you remember the Armory Group put those fundraising signs in the front yard of the Armory and Town Hall. At that time, town council, what Jennifer could find, and I think what Jake remembered, was that it did not endorse a product, it did not endorse a candidate, and that the council said
It
that
was a
that'd be
private
okay.
report. It was a,
But council at that time did say,
you talking about vote yes on the referendum? Or you
No,
talking
no,
about
no.
Yes, vote yes and vote no signs.
Okay, yeah, they were. I saw they were all over town right away. Vote, yeah.
But we did, from what I remember, what was discussed, because it wasn't specifically endorsing a product or a candidate, that council by consensus allowed it.
Okay.
and so that was the only one, but we didn't allow them on the police department, we don't allow them any other kind of candidate signs or anything like that, except on the day of election with the police department, obviously. They're
Well, if
covered.
someone goes in front of my yard, because I have large right of way, the water meter in that's owned by the town is 15 feet from the road. So if I wake up tomorrow and there's 4 different candidates with signs on the town right of way, the average person riding by goes, well, Billy Colburn's endorsing X, Y, and Z. Do I have the right to remove the signs if it's on the town right of way?
Yeah, that's true.
I would say decorum would say,
Yeah, but we're not talking about
Shouldn't do
decorum. We don't do decorum here. We don't do decorum. We do what is the law?
I don't think the law prohibits them from being put out on the right of way.
You don't.
And I've never enforced it. I don't have
The law
anything
doesn't protect them
specifically
being
telling
in
me.
the right of way either?
Pardon?
And there's no law that protects them for being in the right of way?
I'm not aware of anything. Specific to towns. The state, yes, you can't put them.
But if you needed to cut the right of way for some reason, you could pull up.
Yeah, I mean, if
But
we had to.
The
yes.
difference, though, Mr. Alma made a great point about the Armory, vote yes or vote no, whatever, and that wasn't endorsing a particular person. But the fact of the matter is the people who are running for office, no matter who they are going to enact the policies, whether it's Armory or whether it's the sidewalk to Walmart or whatever. I would argue it's just important who you vote for as to which, as a referendum. I'd argue that the people running are more important than the referendum because they're going to have a say on a wide variety of issues. But I just feel sorry for the person who doesn't want to get political, and they wake up, and they don't want to. And all of a sudden, they got 3 signs in the yard. Someone signed in the yard. They don't want to be the bad guy, the bad girl. But then legally, they can't remove the sign because it's been placed in the town right away. And I don't think that computes. I don't think that's right, in my opinion. I mean, most of us in this room, I think, before we put a sign anywhere near John Smith's house, we say, "Hey, Mr. Smith."
Can I do this?
Right. But what you're doing, potentially, in my opinion, and yeah, like I said, I defer to the council, is you're unleashing the political beast to go out there and say, okay, if I see you taking it down, it's public property. I've got a right to put that sign there, and you do not have the right to remove it. I'm not sure that's legit.
So how have we been doing, how have we been doing it?
We haven't been doing anything.
2018, I can tell you right now,